Join us at Walters on Friday, October 4th for our end-of-season podcast party. The evening is scheduled from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m.
Still 1-2. Runners lead second and third. Smiley delivers. Swing a long drive down the right field line toward the corner. Way back it goes, and this one is gone. And the Nationals lead on a 3-run homer by Joey Gallo. A pitch to Bellinger. Swing a line drive, loop shallow left center. It's down for a base hit. Racing around at third is Happ. He'll score. Over to third is Swanson. And this game is tied. The kick at the pitch. The runner goes at first and a swing and a ground ball to third. Taina's going to look at home and then throw to first. It's a wide throw. Yepes steps on the bag for the out, but a run scores and Bellinger ends up at third base. So the Cubs in front 7-6 on a ground out.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Friday, September 20th, 2024, along with MadsonSports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at Wrigley Field in Chicago. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. The Nats are not ending their season in a particularly good way. That can change, but for now, the Nats have lost 4 consecutive games now, are a season worst 17 games below 500. Thursday night, a 7-6 loss at the Chicago Cubs in Game 1 of a 4-game series. A wild game, a game in which the Nats did overcome a 5-3 6-inning deficit, but then blew a 6-5 7th-inning lead. So the Nats for the regular season now 68-85 must go at least 4-5 over their final 9 games in order to surpass last regular season's record of 71-91. This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Table to Mat, which you can count on for all of your nutrition and personal training needs. Table to Mat offers virtual and in-person nutrition services and personal training to the DMV area. You can email Table to Mat directly through the website tabletomat.com. That's the word table, the number 2, MAT.com. You could also call Table to Mat 240-388-2206. Coming up later in the show, an update on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, the great Josh Whetzel. Mark, multiple Nats players had impressive games on Thursday night. There actually were a lot of good and interesting things to this game. But yeah, you don't want to be ending your season while reaching a new low point. And unfortunately, the Nats have done that here. 17 games now below 500.
And 17 runs allowed the last 3 games, and that's the reason that they have lost at least 3 of these last 4. This was a weird game. As you said, there were actually a lot of good things that happened, especially offensively. Great night for C.J. Abrams, 4 hits. Great night for Darren Baker, 3 hits in his first career start. Joey Gallo hit a clutch 3-run homer off a lefty to give them the lead, and yet they lost the game. And why'd they lose the game? Because the pitching, again, wasn't very good, and the defense made some critical mistakes at some important moments in the game. And I feel like we've had that conversation once or twice or 17 times here over the course of the summer.
Yeah, 17 is the magic number. Yeah, pitching plus defense equals run prevention. It all goes under that umbrella. And that umbrella lately has not been particularly good for the Nats. But yeah, I do think that what the Nats did offensively in this game is actually the most interesting, noteworthy item from the game. The Nats in this game were really good offensively. 6 runs, 13 hits, which were a home run, 4 doubles and 8 singles, 3 walks, 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. And there were multiple Nats who did really well. C.J. Abrams and James Wood each got on base 4 times. I think the headliner is Abrams. Abrams, to me, on Thursday night, looked as good as he has looked in so long. Like, this was the C.J. Abrams of April. This was the C.J. Abrams of June. Abrams in this game as the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter, 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and 2 singles. He went 2 for 2 on stolen bases. Abrams in the Nats, 1 run first, leadoff single up the middle, and he had steals of second and third base. So immediately an igniter. Abrams in the Nats, 2-run third, leadoff first pitch double to the right center field gap. Abrams in the top of the 6th, a 2-out single up the middle. Abrams in the top of the 9th, a 1-out double to the right center field gap. He recently missed those 4 consecutive games due to a sore left shoulder. Coincidence or not, Abrams, since coming back from that 4-game absence, 7 for 11 with 2 doubles and 5 singles over 3 games. Maybe he needed that 4-game absence to get him back on track.
So I asked him about this afterwards, and he acknowledged that, yes, physically it was good to take a few days off and get the shoulder better. But he also acknowledged that mentally he spent those games watching from the dugout, studying pitchers, maybe examining a few things about his approach or his swing, whatever you want to call it. And I think it did make a difference. And the results in this game were great. But even more than that, the way he got to the results was fantastic. He hit the ball with authority, driving it to the gap. He ran the bases with authority and confidence that we haven't seen from him in a while. That was such good stuff. That was the all-star version of CJ Abrams in this game. And you hope, I know it's only 9 games left, but you hope he can keep this going and go into the offseason on a little bit of a hot streak. It would do, I think, a lot for his confidence and for the team to feel better about him after what's been such an up and down season. Even if it's just a little blip here at the end, it would be awfully nice to finish on a high note.
He looked so good. The Cubs could not get him out in this game. That's how it felt. When he would come up to bat, you just knew he was going to do something good, and he basically did every time he came up in this game. James Wood, you talk about working counts. James Wood on Thursday night as the Nats starting left fielder and number 3 batter, 1 for 2 with an RBI double and 3 walks. He went 1 for 2 on stolen bases. But James Wood in this game tortured the Cubs pitching staff from a perspective of making those pitchers work. So this was not a lightning quick game. This game took a while. These innings were long. A lot of pitchers were thrown in this game, and James Wood was one of the biggest reasons why. Wood in the Nats, 1 run first, a 1-out, 9-pitch walk. Wood in the Nats, 2-run third, a 1-out, full count, opposite field RBI double to left field for a 2-1 Nats lead. Now, the double did come in a ball that went off the backhanded glove of the Cubs left fielder Ian Happ. Failed in an attempt at a leaping catch. But look, the double was well struck. Per StatCast, exit velocity of 111.4 miles per hour, tied for the highest exit velocity of the game. Wood in the top of the 7th, lead off 7-pitch walk despite having been down at 1.02. He then, though, was thrown out in an attempted steal of second base on a strike him out, throw him out double play. But Wood in the top of the 9th, in which the Nats did threaten off the Abrams double, a 2-out, 6-pitch walk and a steal of second base. Man, was he working those counts and getting on base at quite the clip in this game.
His patience is probably his best virtue as a hitter. It's so rare for a young guy to have that, especially in big moments in games. And I almost wonder, tell me what you think about this, in that last one in the 9th inning, I almost wonder if he and the team would be better off at him expanding just a little bit. You've got the tying run on third base with 1 out. And the pitches he took were balls, don't get me wrong. There were 1 or 2 that were a little off the plate, including one I want to say was a couple inches to the outside of the plate. And it seemed like the kind of thing that he is good enough to stick his bat out and just poke the ball into left field for what would have been a game-tying RBI single. Now, that's out of his comfort zone. He is the guy who is going to be patient and make sure that it's over the plate before he swings at it. So I get that and I respect that about it. But in that spot with a chance to tie the game, he draws the walk. That's great. But now you're putting the game in the hands of the guy behind you, who is Andres Chaparro, not nearly as accomplished or as high of a ceiling of a player. And so I do sometimes wonder in a case like that, as good as the patience is there an argument to be made for just expanding a little bit? And if you get something that you think you can just get the ball to the outfield and get the runner home to tie the game in the 9th inning, that actually is a better approach than staying patient.
So it's funny, what you just said is exactly what has been said many times over the years about a guy who has been like a sabermetrics darling, Joey Votto. People have said that about Votto, and I do think there is some merit to it. Now, I think you got to be awfully careful, right? You don't want to mess with not just a good thing, but a spectacular thing. This guy's ability to get on base, especially in the case of Wood, he's so young. I feel like if you're older, you can maybe push a little harder. I just would hate to mess with, here's a guy, 297 Major League regular season plate appearances. Now, the on base is at 360. That is so good. He is so wise beyond his years when it comes to plate discipline. But that's not without merit, what you said. And like I said, people said that a lot about Joey Votto, and I actually be interested to hear from people who know the Reds, was that in fact a valid thing? But yeah, that his plate discipline was almost too good. You almost wish you could maybe sprinkle a little bit of K-Bit Ruiz on James Wood, and then sprinkle a whole lot of Wood on K-Bit Ruiz. But yeah, I understand what you're saying when you say that. But really good stuff from Abrams and Wood in this game. Hey, Al Galdi here to tell you about the latest great offer from Window Nation for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. Call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. We are into September. Colder weather is coming. Now is a great time to replace your old inefficient windows with energy-efficient windows from Window Nation. Get a free, no-obligation quote now. 866-90NATION or windownation.com. Window Nation is the best. Window Nation can install your new windows in a day or less, and Window Nation's windows come with a lifetime warranty. With proven quality and service, it's no wonder that thousands of homeowners have trusted Window Nation for years. And take advantage of the great offer for listeners of the Nats Chat podcast. 2 free windows for every 2 windows that you buy, plus pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years. 866-90NATION or windownation.com. That's 866-90NATION or windownation.com. And tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
What's up, everybody? It's Heisman Trophy winner Matt Leinart. I've got a podcast called Throwbacks with actor Jay Farrar, where we'll be talking all things sports, but also so much more. We'll give you the behind-the-scenes stories from my days as the quarterback on an iconic college football team to Jerry's days as a star on an iconic TV series. So subscribe to Throwbacks wherever you download your podcast and follow us on all social media at Throwback Show.
Are you looking for tickets to an upcoming event? That's why you should download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code NATSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. You get cheaper tickets, and it helps the podcast a bit. Sounds like a smooth 6-4-3 double play. Again, create an account and redeem the code NATSCHAT for $20 off. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Here's Darren Baker. First pitch in there, called strike. His first major league hit. And the first pitch he saw in the big leagues came against the Cubs. He was 2 for 5 as a big leaguer. The double last night, the swing, a ground ball toward the middle, out of the reach of the diving second baseman Nico Hoerner.
And yes, Darren Baker, of course, the son of the former Nats and Cubs manager, Dusty Baker. Darren Baker in this game, first major league regular season start. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 8 batter, went 3 for 4 with a double and 2 singles. You know, Darren Baker is not some highly regarded prospect in the Nats organization. He hasn't played much since the Nats selected his contract from AAA Rochester on September 1st, but when he has played, he has gotten on base, he has gotten hits, and he in this game, 3 hits. Now, these were not, exit velocity specials, all right? Let's be honest about this, but 3 hits are 3 hits. Top of the second, 1 out single up the middle. Top of the 4th, 1 out opposite field, infield single to the left side of the infield on a 1-2 pitch on a play that could have been made by the Cubs defense, but was not. And then Baker in the Nats 3-run 6, a 2-out opposite field double just inside the left field line and then off a sidewall at Wrigley Field. Look, you during the game on X quote tweeted the great quote from Dusty Baker in 2017 about don't talk to me about exit velocity, show me exit hits. And you're right, Darren in this game epitomized that quote from his dad.
Dusty taught him well. I mean, what can you say? I guarantee you Dusty's sitting at home in California watching that and thinking, that's my boy. That's what you want from the guy. You know what? Different strokes for different folks. That's who he can be. If he's ever going to make it up here, that's going to be the kind of hitter that he is. He's not going to drive the ball with authority. He has never hit for power at any level that he's played in baseball, but that's fine. There is still a place sometimes for guys who can do that. If you have very good bat to ball skills and can find the holes and hit them where they ain't, you can do some things in this game. But it was just a cool moment for Darren to make his first career start and to do it at Wrigley, where he admittedly grew up. Dusty was manager here from 2003 to 2006. Darren was between the ages of 4 and 8 during that time. So he has memories of this. He said he started playing Little League right down the street at a park not too far from here. He remembers leading the crowd in Take Me Out to the Ball game at age 4. His mother, Melissa, had him in the press box, held him up He has got the microphone in his hand. He sang Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Dusty's down on the field singing along with them during an actual game. And now in this one, he's out there at second base, warming up for the bottom of the seventh as Andre Dawson, an old family friend, is leading the crowd and Take Me Out to the Ball Game. How can you not be romantic about baseball? Come on. This is good stuff. Whatever happens from here on out, whether Darren ever makes it back to the big leagues again after this season, this has been a nice and really cool thing to see happen over the last few weeks. And I'll tell you what, if Luis Garcia still needs to miss a few more games, and it sounds like he might with his sore wrist, Davey Martinez said that Darren probably would start against righties, and they're going to see a bunch of righties in this series. So we may be seeing more of him out there and see what he can do, collect some more exit hits.
Well, good for Darren Baker. That was a lot of fun to watch on Thursday night. And yes, Mark mentioned it, the homer from Joey Gallo, a big spot, a big homer. He on Thursday night came off the bench, more on why momentarily, played right field, 1 for 3 with a 3-run homer. Gallo in an Nats 3-run six, 2-out, 3-run homer to right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 6-5 Nats lead, and he was in the game because Jacob Young got hurt in this game. Young was the Nats starting center fielder and number 9 batter, 0 for 1, left the game due to a left shoulder injury. In the top of the second, reached base via a 1-out fielder's choice grounder, then was thrown out in an attempted steal of second base, and he on that stolen base attempt hurt his left shoulder. So Young exited the game. Gallo came into the game, played right field. Cruz shifted over from right to center. And what do we know about how Jacob Young is doing?
Not a whole lot, but I think there is some real concern here. He said that his shoulder kind of went numb after he jammed it, sliding into second base on that stolen base attempt. That's never a good thing. You don't want to hear that. They were still sending him off for some tests to be examined at the end of the night, so they probably aren't going to know anything until the morning. It's a quick turnaround to the day game on Friday, so that would be a potential problem there. They don't have any other true outfielders on the roster. That's why Gallo took over in right field. So they may have to scramble here to make a move, potentially. There's also a move to be made because Trevor Williams is being activated off the IL to start the game. So they're going to have to drop a pitcher, and that's also a 40-man roster move. So there's some complicated stuff that may have to work through here. Hopefully everything's fine with Jacob Young, but I think there's at least a little bit of concern that it was something a little more serious. Now, you want the backstory on Joey Gallo. I don't know if you could see it on the broadcast. So it was the third out of the inning that Young makes, and they go to commercial. He ends up coming out of the game. The Nats take the field. They're warming up. There's nobody in right field. Like, who is it? What's going on? Finally, Gallo comes out there, and he's kind of huffing and puffing. And Corbin's already warmed up. They're ready to go. Like, what happened? Did he have to, did he forget his glove? Like, maybe he wasn't ready to go into the game? Well, he was up in the clubhouse, and it's a long hike from the dugout to the clubhouse here at Wrigley Field. The reason he was up there is because even at the renovated Wrigley Field, there is no bathroom in the visitors' dugout or near the visitors' dugout. And nature called, and he was up there, not necessarily thinking that he's about to be needed to be playing in this game, and all of a sudden he is. And he had to scramble and get himself down there in time for the start of the next inning, and he was able to laugh about it after the fact. But remarkably, this is the first time he's played at Wrigley Field in his whole career. This is the 30th ballpark for him to be in. He had never played here, had played everywhere else, and he was not aware, and now he knows the truth, that there is no bathroom near the dugout at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you take care of that before the game, but I guess you can't always control something like that. Now, it is sounding like Alex Cole might be coming back before the end of this season, but he's not ready yet. Like, in other words, they couldn't put Young on the injured list and activate Cole, right? Cole's not ready for that yet.
I don't think so. It sounds like he's still dealing with a little bit with the foot. The thought was that they would maybe go send him on a quick rehab assignment and maybe activate him at some point during the final week. He is here with them in Chicago, but the way Davey Martinez put it today was that they may ultimately send him down to Florida next week to try to get a little game action or something if they were maybe going to try to call him up. So it didn't sound all that optimistic, and we are running out of time. And I would be very surprised if they felt like he was just ready to go and throw him right out there on Friday. He may say he's ready to go, but I think they would probably look at that and say, this isn't worth it. Because that's a thing. Plantar fasciitis is something that can get worse and cause real problems. you don't want to risk that. They would figure out something else to do if it comes down to that.
I did want to say this too about Jacob Young. A risk of attempting as many stolen bases as the Nats attempt is injury. Now, I don't think you can operate out of fear, but that is something to keep in mind. And the Nats are actually kind of lucky with all of the stolen base attempts that they have put forth this season, that they have not seen more guys get hurt, because, there is an injury risk on that play, right? When you talk about sliding into the bag and colliding with a second baseman or a shortstop, and, who knows how you go into the bag, etc. So, hopefully Young is okay. I don't know that that's necessarily a reason not to try to steal bases, that guys get hurt, because again, guys can get hurt doing a lot of different things, but you do see this happen. Players get injured on stolen base attempts, and I think what happened with Young on Thursday night was a reminder of that.
The real concern, I think, from their standpoint is not necessarily how much they run. It's diving head first. And it does leave you more susceptible to injuries to your hands, your shoulders, even your head as you're going in, getting tagged or getting a knee to the head, or the ball maybe hitting you. Davey Martinez talked about this after the game, and it's kind of long been a concern of his. He would much prefer guys go in feet first.
We talk to these guys all the time about sliding feet first. I really don't like it, because of the shoulders, the reaching back to grab the bag.
It's not something you can just do on the fly. And so he said next spring, they may have to start just teaching guys, we're going feet first all the time on those kind of plays, and just try to work on it and ingrain it in their heads. Not everybody loves to do it. A lot of guys are more comfortable going head first, but it does leave you more susceptible to injuries like that.
Even like you go head first, you can jam a finger, break a finger, injure a wrist, like all kinds of things can happen. But, it isn't particularly natural. You're stealing second base to slide feet first. Like that just doesn't feel right? Like it feels right if you're going to slide head first.
The best way to learn a language? Immersion. Living where the language is spoken and using it every day. But if that's not in the cards this year, you could still learn a language the second best way, and that's with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Here's a special deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners for a limited time at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/natschat. That's spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I feel great physically. It's kind of just maybe looking back at the last 6 years here. It kind of has gone pretty quick. Maybe the last one in D.C. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to get to pitch one more time there and hopefully end on a good note and see what happens.
So the Nats starting pitcher in this 7-6 loss at the Cubs on Thursday night was Patrick Corbin, what we believe was the penultimate start for Corbin with the Nationals, barring the unforeseen. This was his next to last start for the team. Corbin on Thursday night officially allowed 5 runs in 4 and a third innings. He gave up 8 hits, a home run, and 7 singles, issued a walk, 4 strikeouts, 85 pitches, 53 strikes, 32 balls. Bottom of the third, he allowed 2 runs, gave up a 1-out full count, 2-run homer by Seiya Suzuki on quite the shot to left center field to tie the game at 3, despite having had Suzuki down at 1.12, the homer going a projected 425 feet per StatCast. I do believe the strive to get under 5 now is over. That Corbin ERA ain't going no south of 5. Patrick Corbin now for the regular season here, 31 starts, ERA of 5.58. That is the worst ERA among all qualified pitchers in the majors. The whip is at 151. That is the worst whip among all qualified pitchers in the majors. I'm sure Davey Martinez would have liked for Corbin to have eaten some more innings in this game, but the performance did not warrant that.
It did not. And the frustrating part especially is it was like every time the Nats would score a run, he'd give it right back. They score 1 in the first, gives it back. They score 2 in the third, he gives them right back. And then you get to the 5th inning and he started putting guys on base and they decided that was enough. And then Derek Law allowed an inherited runner to score. In his defense, it was on a sacrifice fly. Law did his job and got 2 outs. But when you enter the game with a man on third, you run that risk of that happening. And so it ends up being another just really not good start for Corbin. And, we've been talking for several years about this. We've been talking all summer. about this. When would the end be? Would it come at some point when other guys were healthy? Would his performance mandate that he ends up going to the bullpen or even being released? And here we go. We've got one left. He's going to have made it all the way through. He will have made at least 31 starts in all 5 of his full seasons with the Nationals and made all of his starts in the shortened 2020 season as well. As it stands right now, he's lined up to go Thursday against the Royals, and that will be his final start with the Nationals, which he acknowledged after the game tonight, kind of knowing that this is coming. And there's going to be a lot to be said about that. And ultimately, you can't argue with what the results were from all but 2019. But I do think it's pretty telling that he made 31 starts every season in which they played a full 162. And there is actually value in that, even though the results were not good. Those were 31 starts somebody had to make. And the fact that he stayed durable through it all, I give him a lot of credit for that. The fact that he never begged out of a start, the fact that he always spoke to us after a game, good or bad. And I'll tell you, I've been talking to a few guys in the clubhouse over the last week or so. He gets so much respect from the other guys in the clubhouse for posting up every 5 days, for being a leader in the clubhouse, for organizing a lot of team activities. They know that he hasn't been anywhere close to the pitcher that he was supposed to be for them, but they also deep down have a tremendous amount of respect for his professionalism as he's gone about this. And whether you like him or not, whether you feel like it was worth it or not, what he did for them in the end, you have to acknowledge that he went out there every time and took the ball every single time he was asked.
It's one of the ultimate juxtapositions you'll ever see, this remarkable durability in a time in which starting pitchers are dropping like flies in terms of injury. So he's demonstrated that, which has just been outstanding. I mean, you had the durability of Max Scherzer, and what Corbin has demonstrated in terms of durability is on the same level in terms of like not missing time due to injury. But of course, there's a big difference between Max and Patrick, and that is Scherzer's performance was outstanding. And Corbin's, I'm not trying to be mean, but it's not that it was bad. Quantifiably, the worst pitcher in the majors over these last 5 years. Like, there's not even really a conversation to be had about that. It's not that it was pretty bad or even really bad or among the worst. Like, no, literally the worst. I mean, I'm not going to bombard everyone with all the numbers and rankings right now, but like, they're there. And every year it's the worst. And this season, once again, the worst. And it's tough to take, but I do commend him. He's handled himself well. We've never had a whiff of, there are behind the scenes issues or anything like that. And in a lot of other predicaments, you might have something like that. We have not had that here. So at the very least, we can say that. But one more to go. And then it is done. And then Mark referenced Derek Law. So the Nats bullpen in this game, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings. I thought Law actually did pretty well. I mean, he came into the game in that 5th inning. I thought, here we go. Inherited runner time. This game's going to be blown wide open. It wasn't. Law tossed 1 2/3 perfect innings. Yes, gave up the RBI sac fly, but he in his outing faced 5 batters, got 5 outs. Robert Garcia, bottom of the 7th, allowed 2 runs on 3 singles and an RBI ground out. That's what really hurt the Nats. And Jose A. Ferrer, scoreless bottom of the 8th, despite giving up a 1-out single and issuing a 1-out balk. And so next up now are the final 3 games of this 4-game series at the Cubs. Because this is a series at the Cubs, you have this unique setup of 3 consecutive afternoon games to close out the series. Friday afternoon, 2:20. Saturday afternoon, 2:20. Sunday afternoon, 2:20. The Nats are going Trevor Williams, Mackenzie Gore, and Jake Irvin. And this is going to be really interesting. Trevor Williams, he has not pitched in so long at the major league level. He ended up missing a lot of time due to that injury. We remember how it was going. He was pitching very well, albeit in, limited fashion, wasn't striking a ton of guys out, yada, yada, but the run prevention was remarkable. ERA under 3. I have no idea what to expect on Friday afternoon. I'm not sure that he knows what to expect. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, I have no idea either, except to say, it'll probably be abbreviated, 5 innings tops, probably 80 pitches. I can't see them pushing him beyond that. Even when he was healthy, they were kind of limiting him to that. But certainly in this case, they just want to get him through 2 starts, let him show everyone else that he's healthy. It's a little bit of a courtesy to him to say, hey, you're about to be a free agent. Go show everyone that you are healthy after the really good first 2 months of the season that you had. It's also, as we've discussed, a chance to give everybody else extra time off. Everybody's going to be pitching with a week's worth of rest next week, now that they're going to the 6-man rotation. I don't know what to expect, but you hope for his sake that he can at least be effective and give him a chance and get through those 5 innings. And we discussed it before. While it's safe to say that Patrick Corbin's time with the Nationals is over as of next week, I don't necessarily think that's fair to say with Trevor Williams. I think there's a scenario in which they could re-sign him. If he looks all right in these 2 games that he pitches, they could say, hey, we could use you, come back on a lesser deal, $2 million or something like that, and either be the long man out of the bullpen or the swing man who's available to start in case guys get hurt, or maybe to start the year you want to have somebody else in the minors or somebody else gets hurt along the way. I think there's a case to be made for that, and I think he'd be agreeable to it. But first things first, he's got to show that he's healthy and can pitch somewhat effectively these 2 starts.
This installment of the Nats Chat podcast brought to us by Table to Mat, which you can count on for all of your nutrition and personal training needs. Table to Mat offers virtual and in-person nutrition services and personal training to the DMV area. You can email Table to Mat directly through the website tabletomat.com. That's the word table, the number 2, MAT.com. You can call Table to Mat 240-388-2206. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can email the podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, natschatpodcast.com, in which you can purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat, courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast, and we check in now on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, with the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel.
6.5 games in front of Omaha's parent club, the Royals. Pitch to House, belted high in the air to left center field. Back toward the scoreboard goes Velasquez. He's near the fence, and this is out of here. It's a towering home run from Brady House that got out to left center. His first innovative field home run. And what a towering, soaring homer it was. 5-0 Red Wings. Hi there, guys. Josh Whetzel with a Rochester Red Wings update for you real quick as the Red Wings enter the final 4 games of the 2024 regular season. As I record this, going into the game Thursday night, the Red Wings have the 6th best overall record in the International League at 75-69. They have clinched a winning record, and this will be the best record the Red Wings have had in their 4 seasons as a Nationals affiliate. As far as some specific updates on individual Red Wings players heading into these final handful of games, Trey Lipscomb is hitting .287 with 4 home runs, an OPS of .744. Former first-round pick Brady House has been playing a solid third base in his first 50 games at the AAA level. He's hitting .261 with 6 homers and 9 doubles over his last 6 games, 9 for 26 with a pair of doubles. Robert Hassell III and Andrew Pinckney have both been promoted to the Red Wings over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Hassell in his first 13 games at AAA is hitting .128 with a couple of doubles, has displayed some good defensive ability in center field. And Andrew Pinckney has played 19 games. He's hitting .232 with a home run, 2 doubles, and a triple, and has successfully stolen 4 bases so far this year. And on the pitching side of things, Jackson Rutledge probably turned in, if not his best start of the season for the Red Wings, certainly one of them in his last effort on Sunday, September 15th. He pitched 7 shutout innings against a very good hitting Indianapolis team, allowing just 2 hits. He walked 4 and matched his season high with 8 strikeouts in that last start. That's an update for you from Rochester. It's been another fun 2024 season here in the Flower City.
Right-handed batter digs in. Pitch. Swinging a ground ball, slowly hit to third. Rendon has it. He'll throw to first, and Corbin does put on the Houdini hat, and he retires the side in the 4th inning. The Dodgers have first and third, no outs. Corbin gets 2 strikeouts and a ground out to keep the Dodgers off the board.